Hello everybody, Brian Zayn here with your Fastlane 2018 review video. After Sunday night, the stage is set for many of the major matches for WrestleMania in 4 weeks. Still a lot of question marks, a lot of other pieces that need to fall into place for the rest of the card. Lots of people, including John Cena, most importantly folks, who do not have a WrestleMania match yet. So we'll find out the answers to those questions in the future, in the coming weeks. But for now, let's get started right with the pre-show match. You've got Mojo, Rawley, and Benjables taking on Breezango and Dillinger. I remember seeing all 6 of these guys on my TV on a regular basis. What happened, man? Anyway, the whole story behind this match is that the heels see the baby faces as a joke, which Breezango confirmed by doing some silly antics with Gable, especially when Tyler's in the referee's position on top of Gable there. Mojo gets some "you can't wrestle" chants in the match, and Mojo correctly responds to it by yelling out, "You think I care about that? Good on you, Mojo." At least the crowd's alive for this match, by the way. The crowd in Columbus on this night, I thought was one of the most alive, into it crowds I've heard in a long time on TV or pay-per-view. This is a very hot crowd for pretty much the whole show. Ty wins for the team with a super kick followed by a knee to the side of Mojo's huge cranium. So the babyfaces win here. Pretty good match, you know, the crowd was into it, and hey, you know, 6-man tags. Do they work or do they work? Our first official match tonight is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Rusev, and they keep saying that Shinsuke is the only person on Smackdown who's got a guaranteed match for WrestleMania. I'd be surprised, honestly, the way the last couple of WrestleManias have gone, I'd be surprised if the number of people who didn't get on the Mania card was any more than like 5 people. Anyway, we knew going into this match what the outcome was going to be. It's so obvious who's going to win here. It's so obvious, you could see it come from so far away. Stevie Wonder could tell Helen Keller and she'd say, "Oh yeah, no shit." But the intrigue of a match like this, where the outcome is so predictable, is to try and figure out how they can get to that end point and make it interesting. And I think they certainly did accomplish that. They certainly made the match interesting. A lot of dueling Rusev Day, Nakamura chants throughout the whole match here. Rusev looking very strong here, and Nakamura also looking very resilient, kicking out a lot of Rusev stuff. A huge super kick when Shinsuke goes for the first Kinshasa attempt. Huge super kick, and Shinsuke takes this incredible bump like on his head and arm area. It looks pretty gruesome. The sell was amazing. Rusev goes with the accolade. Shinsuke slips out of it, hits the Kinshasa from behind, then from the front, and he wins the day here. Shinsuke wins, and is going to go on to WrestleMania to face the champion, but who will it be? And I know it sucks to see someone like Rusev, who's not only the most over guy on SmackDown, but probably one of the most over guys in the whole company, both Raw and SmackDown, to keep losing and losing and losing like this. I'm cautiously optimistic that they're kind of like, that the company recognizes what they have with Rusev and Rusev Day, and just kind of like, you know, holding it close to the vest here. They're not gonna give away the big push just yet. They're gonna make fans just yearn for it and want it before finally pulling the trigger at some point with Rusev, either at WrestleMania or sometime shortly afterward. In fact, I'm gonna make a bold prediction right now. I think Rusev is going to win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania. Yes, I know that makes it 2 years in a row where a SmackDown guy wins it, but I don't really give a shit. But I think it would be a nice consolation thing, especially for Rusev. I don't know like what they're gonna do. Like, it seems like the US title scene right now is locked up for WrestleMania, and I'll get to that when we get to that match. But I do think that you know, it'd be a nice thing for Rusev to have. You know, if he doesn't, you know, get any kind of title scenes for Mania, put him in the Honor the Giant thing, and either he'll be last to go out or he'll win the thing. U.S. title on the line as Bobby Roode defends against Randy Orton. And folks, it's hard to believe that of all things, a top 10 list brought these two men together. Thank God for lists. Anyway, Jinder Mahal is watching the match backstage on a monitor. I say that because it seems that only Jinder Mahal is watching, because there's Sunil's behind him, but from that angle, there's no way Sunil can see anything. He has a terrible vantage point. He's looking right at Jinder Mahal's like back and shoulder area. He has no vantage point. At one point, I'm pretty sure I heard the crowd chanting for Byron Saxton during the match, which gives you an idea of just how lackluster the build for this match has been. Again, over a top 10 list. It's an even worse plot point to build a feud around than, say, just the abstract concept of the women's revolution for the ladies. Anyway, not to say it was a bad match. I think it was a very solid match between the two, especially it really, you know, picked up by like the last last third of the match. Really by the end, it was a very dramatic match. The whole story here was both guys were, you know, trying to hit each other's finishers desperately at times, but each guy was able to block or evade or reverse. So it definitely picked up. Roode goes for, I think it was the blockbuster off the second rope. Orton catches him with the RKO, which, well, the more I think about that spot, the mid-air RKO, takes an extraordinary amount of precision from both guys, because the guy giving it has to make sure that his head is not like below the guy taking it, because then like it's just this huge like collision of skulls, and that can't be pretty. So I'm sure Orton's had a lot of practice. He's able to keep it pretty safe there. So he wins the match. He wins the title. He's now a Grand Slam champion officially. The last time he was even close to winning the U.S. Championship, I forget what year it was, and I'm pretty sure this is the last time, but he won the belt on behalf of Booker T in a best of 7 because Booker T was feuding with Benoit on SmackDown, and Booker was hurt, and so Orton was his replacement, and he won for Booker T. A little abstract trivia there. So yeah, Orton wins the belt, and that was kind of a crazy moment. I didn't expect that to happen. Jinder Mahal comes out, interrupts. They talk for a bit as Jinder jumps him, but then Rude hits the glorious DDT on Jinder, then on Orton. So nobody looks good. The guy whose music's playing at the end is the guy who lost the belt. Everyone else is laid out. So who really looks on top in this? I can't really tell. And so this seems to be leading toward, I would guess, a triple threat for the match, for the title at Mania, which seems very reflective of what's going on in Raw, because you've got the equivalent title, the Intercontinental Championship, also being defended in a triple threat. So it's a nice originality there for you. It's just one of those things where the roster is so big, you have all these people who need spots and need things to do, and you have these title situations where it's like, well, instead of picking one guy, we're just going to pick both people so we can have our, everyone's happy essentially, which is really kind of a disappointing byproduct, because now you see so many multi-man matches, especially come Mania time, because everyone's got to get involved somehow. So I guess this means we're getting triple threat at Mania, so woohoo for that. Also, it seems to be maybe leaning toward a Bobby Roode heel turn based on what we saw on Sunday, so we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. In a big old filler match, we've got Naomi and Becky Lynch taking on Carmella and Natalya. Yeah, not a whole lot of heat to this match, not a whole lot of interest. It basically seemed to be a case of let's give these other women of SmackDown something to do and keep them busy and to pad the card while Charlotte and Ruby are fighting for the championship later on. This was definitely, I wouldn't say it was the worst match of the night, it was just the least interesting of the night, the one I cared the absolute least about. At one point, Naomi goes for a wheelbarrow into a stunner onto Natalya, but doesn't quite get the whole thing. There is an amazing bit of serendipitous timing here, because you've got Natalya on the live mic on the apron, and you can hear her so clearly here, because Byron and Corey are jabbing at each other for a bit, and Byron says something, and then Natalya chimes in right afterward, and the timing is amazing.
Ever the pessimist.
Shut up!
In the end, some awkward blocking as Carmella shrieks like a banshee, telling Natalya to get on the apron with the briefcase. Becky knocks Natalya off the apron, but eats a big old super kick from Carmella, and the heels win the day here. Like I said, the match is okay, a little sloppy and clunky at times, mostly between Carmella and Naomi. I think they're the guiltiest parties here in this matchup here. This match was for it's like a SmackDown quality match. It was maybe a kickoff quality match, not so much for the proper pay-per-view here. The Usos defend the SmackDown tag titles against the New Day in the rivalry renewed, as they kept billing it. The big story here was that each team was stealing each other's spots. At one point, the Usos hit the Midnight Hour, the New Day hit the super kick Usos splash combo. It was a nice way to establish the history between these two teams and showing how well these two know each other. They're just able to kind of like see what's coming and steal each other's stuff, because they've taken it so much by now, they know how to actually execute the moves. Out come the Bludgeon Brothers, though. The match goes to shit when the Bludgeon Brothers come in and they brutally attack both teams. It ends in a disqualification. I think, honestly, of all the options, probably a good way to end the match, all told. Neither team has to lose here when neither team has anything to prove. I didn't want to see another tag title change, to be perfectly honest. And, the Usos beat New Day again. What does it really prove? The Bludgeon Brothers have been inserting themselves into both teams' mess for weeks now, and so finally this is kind of like the blow off to that, and now we can see probably all three teams, the other triple threat, but this is how we're going to get the Bludgeon Brothers involved now. And I don't hate having DQ finishes like this part of a pay-per-view if it builds to something else in the future. Some people might crap on the fact there's a DQ finish, like a TV finish for a pay-per-view, but it's really, we're just trying to tell the story in advance to WrestleMania. That's the biggest thing here. So, by hook or by crook, that's how they did it. So yeah, I was wondering how the Bludgeon Brothers are going to fit into this thing, and this is how they did it. The SmackDown Women's Championship on the line as Charlotte Flair defends against Ruby Riott. Early in the match, Ruby gets the advantage when Charlotte's distracted by Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan, because they're on the outside standing still doing that goofy smile they do, that thing they... like this. This is half of Sarah Logan's offense, is standing still and doing, hey, this kind of thing. So that distracts Charlotte, and then Ruby gets the advantage. Ruby looking very good here against Charlotte, very strong. I think I had very low expectations going into this matchup, and this match really just kind of blew them out of the water. It was a very good match overall. After the interference from the meddling, I should say, from the rest of the Riott Squad, Becky Lynch and Naomi, the big losers from earlier, come down and even the odds. So basically the last 5 or 6 weeks of SmackDown played out here in this match. Ruby breaks out this cool little cannonball send senton, falling backwards on the second rope onto Charlotte. And then the second time she goes for it, Charlotte puts the knees up. At one point, as the world famous flea market guys might say, Ruby eases into a warm bath going for a suicide dive, but Charlotte catches her and throws her into the barricade. Charlotte catching a clothesline attempt out of the ropes into a backbreaker, then falls over. Then Ruby somehow pivots herself into the second rope. That was really weird. I had to watch it a few times to figure out what the hell happened here. Morgan and Logan bait Becky and Naomi into getting in the ring and getting ejected, which leads them to getting ejected after they attack Charlotte. So, it backfires and everyone's out. So what was the point of them trying to get the advantage here when they also get ejected? It makes them look dumb. Anyway, Ruby goes for a reverse Hurricane Rana. Charlotte's back and neck of steel go forward and launch Ruby into the turnbuckle. A spear, a figure eight. Charlotte retains. Some questionable booking and a couple of little botches here and there, but otherwise, like I said, very strong match, way exceeded my expectations. But then after the match, out comes Asuka, the winner of the Rumble match from January. She comes into the ring and very excitedly points to the sign, and it is on like Diddy Kong. Charlotte versus Asuka for the Smackdown Women's Championship at Mania. I can finally stop questioning, how are they going to do this logically and how's it going to make sense, because they did pretty well here. It was very well done. On Raw last week, they did a pretty clean break to the end of Asuka's beef with Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. So now the lane was wide open for Asuka to come in there and challenge Charlotte, and she didn't have to do it by cutting a promo or anything. She didn't have to try and justify herself, which is what I was kind of afraid of them having to do. And so she just points to the sign. That's all there is to it. The big question for me now that we've gotten over the point of how to get to the matches here, how are they going to explain, so now is she just going to be wrestling on SmackDown for the next 4 weeks leading to Mania? Is she going to be on Raw at all? If she hypothetically wins the championship at WrestleMania, will she become a SmackDown talent from there on out, or is she going to try and unify the belts? There's a lot of what ifs here with Asuka challenging Charlotte. So we'll see how we get to that point, though. Main event time as AJ Styles defends the WWE Championship against John Cena, Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Hard to believe that it was just for a while, just those last two guys I mentioned fighting AJ Styles in a triple threat, and that was it. It was a triple threat match, but then after the several weeks, it just ballooned into 5 people, then 4 people, then 5 people, then 6 people. The more I think about it, this was done probably just to help kind of extend the shelf life of the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn tension. Which now I think about it, if that was the goal, was actually kind of a brilliant way to go about doing it. Before the match, Shane sits down at ringside. That can't have any implications in the future. The match begins when Cena hits everyone in the ring with the AA until finally it's just him and AJ squaring off. This face-off here might have been a cooler moment if we didn't have the two of them just wrestle each other in a singles match a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, after a few minutes of them fighting, the first 4 guys all get up and slowly surround Cena and beat up on him Nexus style. They dump him out. Cena gets hit with a lot of stuff in this match early on. He goes for an AA on Ziggler, who counters with a Famouser, which is a pretty cool counter there. Styles clash by AJ Styles. Sami makes the save. Corbin and Ziggler start fighting their way on the outside, and Ziggler gets destroyed, thrown into the plexiglass wall by Corbin. He gets up a lot sooner than I thought he would. I thought that was kind of the way to write Ziggler out of the whole match, but he does end up getting back in later on. There's some fighting on the tables. Cena dumps AJ through the table, and AJ takes it hard, like the lower back tailbone area. It was not a clean bump, and it looked pretty nasty. And that took AJ out of the match for pretty much the whole thing, except for the finish, which we'll get to in a bit. Kevin and Sami finally square off in the ring one-on-one. Sami says he's going to lay down for Kevin, and Kevin's very, he's cautious about it. He doesn't know. He's reluctant to actually pin him. He ends up just not believing him, and goes to attack Sami, who counters with a small package, kick out, and then they fight for a while longer. Zayn blocks a powerbomb and backdrops Kevin Owens onto the apron. Then after all that fighting happens, Zayn gets in Shane McMahon's face. Of course, why would he be sitting out there if something wasn't going to happen? Sami gets out of the way of a Kevin Owens super kick, so Kevin inadvertently just knocks Shane's block off with a super kick. A couple minutes later, Kevin hits Ziggler with the pop-up powerbomb. Shane pulls the referee out of the ring. In that confusion, Zayn hits Kevin with a haluva kick, and then Shane pulls Sami out of the ring. So Shane is now completely just turning heel again, just doing more of this personal vendetta. And it's at this point, it's hard to empathize with him. It's hard to treat him as a babyface here. It's been that way since the feud really began, it feels like, and now it's just even more so. So I'm sure we're going to get some more retaliation from Daniel Bryan on Tuesday as a result of this. Then the finish comes fast and furious. Cena with an AA on Baron Corbin on the steel steps. Ziggler with a super kick to Cena, who no-sells it and hits Ziggler with the AA. He's going for a second one, but Kevin breaks that up, hits Cena with a pop-up powerbomb. Then Kevin is immediately hit with a phenomenal forearm by AJ, who comes back from the dead after going through the table, and and he wins the match that way. So yes, against all odds, AJ Styles retains the championship. He's going on WrestleMania to fight Shinsuke in the match that, the rematch from Wrestle Kingdom several years back, and now we're going to get it finally here in WWE. It's been a long build and a long wait period from the moment they got signed 2 years ago, and now we're finally going to have it, and my body is ready. I'm very excited for this one. Shane walks past the fallen bodies of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens after the match and kind of walks up with a smug look in his face. I'm like, seriously, if SmackDown on Tuesday does not begin with Kevin and Sami just like laying in, just beating the hell out of Shane McMahon, AJ Styles in the parking lot style from last year for the build to Mania, like if they don't start that way, I don't even know anymore. But yeah, the main event was easily the match of the night. It was a great match. You could just look at that match on paper and see it was going to be something great. I think watching this match, like nothing phenomenal really happened, no pun intended, but yeah, nothing really happened that really blew you away. Like, oh my God. I feel like lately, having watched these pay-per-views over the last several months, I feel when it comes to multi-man matches, I feel the guys on Raw have been doing it better. Like their moments and their spots have been just like, they felt bigger than what we see on SmackDown, but it's still a very good match, easily a match of the night. My final grade for Fastlane 2018 is going to be a B-. I think that, when you only have 6 matches on the show, and 3 of them, in my opinion, Rusev and Shinsuke, Charlotte and Ruby, and the 6-pack challenge, when they do really well, and those are very fun matches to watch, then I think, yeah, like that it makes it a really good show when half of your matches are really good. Orton and Rude was good as well, but kind of on the bubble. I wouldn't say it was one of my top matches of the night. I think that was it was a very solid match for sure. The DQ finished the tag team match. I didn't really mind that much. Really, to me, again, the one weak point in this show, if I had to pick one, was the women's tag team match. Again, it's just useless filler stuff. That's kind of my thoughts on this show on Sunday night. It was, it was a very good, very, very good episode of SmackDown. It's probably the best way I can put it. So now, for one last time, folks, let's do a who or better pay-per-view style, Fastlane versus Elimination Chamber. So as the sun sets on this latest era of single brand pay-per-views and we go back to the dual brand format after Mania, we have to look back at these last 2 single brand shows and figure out which one of these 2 really did a better job of hyping their respective brands up and priming them and readying them for WrestleMania. Honestly, just looking at just a show-by-show comparison, I have to say Elimination Chamber wins this round because, I think that if you're going to have a match like Elimination Chamber, have 2 chamber matches in your show, they should both deliver, both do well. And honestly, the men's one just did not. Like I mentioned in my chamber review, the women's match was great. The men's match kind of sucked because I think the pacing was not that great. The storytelling was kind of lacking. I was, fine with Roman winning, but the way they went about it was something kind of stuck in my craw. And to me, like that was really the weakest match on that show. But if you're comparing the 2 shows, I think the weakest match on Fastlane was the women's tag. And that's a far more inconsequential matchup than the men's chamber matchup. And that was your main event. So if this little match was like the worst part of this show, and your main event and one of your biggest matches of the card was the week one on the Chamber pay-per-view, to me it's no question. SmackDown, Fastlane had the stronger show in my opinion. So let me know what you guys thought about Fastlane in the comments section below. Give it a letter grade in the gimmick in the upper right hand corner of your screen. And folks, for the next 4 weeks, get ready to hear a lot of Kid Rock. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.